Thanks for coming tonight, and I'm really excited about the opportunity to talk to you about managing the holiday blues. One of the most important things to think about when we talk about enjoying the holidays is thinking about what our expectations are. We have so much hype that comes from commercials, that comes from movies, that comes from Hallmark movies in particular, clothing, catalog ads. And then we also have our best childhood memories. Remember the Christmas when you were 4 years old and you got your first bicycle and you believed in Santa Claus and the Christmas tree was beautiful and is that all right? There we go. Was beautiful and perfect. And your family all got along because you were just a child and you didn't know about all the undercurrents among the adults. Or that Hanukkah where you got 8 wonderful presents and you got your first dollhouse or you got your first model train set. Your grandparents were still alive. They made latkes and cheese blintzes and everything was perfect. Sadly, we can't keep those perfect holidays as we get older and life grows in greater complexity. So I wanted to start off with something that's a little bit negative because we want to go from what's not good to what is good. And one of the ways we understand what's good in our lives is by spending a little bit of time thinking about negative things and negative expectations. So what I would like everybody to do, if you're comfortable, is I would like you to close your eyes because we're going to do a visualization exercise. And I'd like you to take a few deep breaths to relax. And I want you to take a moment and imagine your worst holiday moment. Okay? Imagine gifts aren't wrapped, people are coming over, your cousin who rambles on and on about politics and conspiracies has arrived an hour early. The turkey didn't thaw properly and parts of it are raw and some of it is burned. Your uncle will be drunk. Your sister and your sister-in-law will be in the middle of a fight. Trump supporters will be on one side of the room arguing with the anti-Trumpsters on the other side. The cat just knocked over the Christmas tree. Football's blaring on TV and no one will lower it. It's blizzarding and some of your least favorite people will have to stay over. And by the way, you forgot to chill the white wine. Or you're alone. You don't have anybody to celebrate with. You feel like the only person in the whole world who's by yourself on Christmas. Or it's a small family gathering and there's a lot of tension because people are sniping at each other and not getting along. It's misery and no joy. A perfect recipe for the holiday blues. I want you to think about what's involved in this memory because the things you want to pay attention to are exactly the things that you want to avoid in the future. They're the things you want to keep out of your holiday recipe and that you want to do the exact opposite of if at all possible. So now let's get out of that negative headspace and go into a more positive one. I want you now to imagine your best Christmas ever. It can be one from your past or one that you aspired to. What steps can you take to get there so that you don't spend time in your worst place, but you spend time in your best place? Don't imagine a Hallmark movie Christmas. I like my Hallmark movies, but they're cartoons as much as Bugs Bunny is. Hallmark movie Christmases are just too generic. They're not specific enough. We can't necessarily apply them to our own life experience. So what would you prefer? Would you like a quiet, intimate holiday? Would you like a large gathering with lots of people who you're friends with and who love you? Do you want to wear pajamas? Do you want people to be dressed up in formal clothes? Is it a day on the slopes? A day curled up on the couch watching Christmas movies or football? Having a formal meal or a casual meal or something in between? Snow swirling outside or a bluebird day? Think about whatever has contributed to your best holiday ever, and you want to do more of that. It seems obvious, but this is a really simple thing that people forget. It's not, and the more you pay attention to what makes your life and your holidays good, and the more effort you make to do those things, the better and happier and more joyful you'll be. For me, I didn't grow up with Christmas. I'm Jewish. We had nice Hanukkahs. I really, really coveted Christmas, and I used to feel bad every Christmas in my all-Italian neighborhood, walking and seeing all the Christmas lights, and my house was the only one with no lights. And then I'd go to my Italian next door neighbors for Christmas, and they had one of those foil Christmas trees with the disco balls on top. And they had this cookie, and they made a Christmas tree out of these little cookies and covered it in honey. And I would like stand by the table and just keep eating those little cookies. I don't know what they were called. Someone has told me recently that it's got a classic name. But as far as Christmas goes, that was the best Christmas ever. I have very nice Hanukkah memories. One of them was when my mother built me she got a kit and she built me a doll carriage, and I saw it before we lit the candles. So there's all of these really nice holidays, and I remember what mattered with those holidays. I try to inject those very things into the holidays in my house right now. So 2 things that matter a lot to me are when I built my house, I put a big kitchen island in, because my dream was on Christmas morning, because I celebrate both, why not, is to have all my family members sitting around my kitchen island, and I make waffles. And I'm just sitting there at my waffle iron, serving everybody waffles with real maple syrup, cinnamon sugar from the little cat shaker my family had when we were children, and butter. And then we all go skiing. And that's my perfect day. I'm not that into the Christmas tree anymore because you have to take it down. But we all have matching Christmas stockings, and I love the stockings. So those are all pieces of my holidays that matter. And I want you guys today to be thinking about the things that matter in your holidays. So what this visualization tells you, the good part and the bad part, is what matters most to you. What matters you want to do less of, what matters you want to do more of. I want you to also take some time after today to think about what mattered and to think about why. And then what does that tell you about managing your holidays in a happy way going forward? Now I'm going to move on to some common stressful situations that contribute to the holiday blues for lots of people. But first I want to talk a little bit about what the holiday blues are. According to the National Alliance of the Mentally Ill, 64% of those surveyed admitted to being affected by the holiday blues. That's a lot of people who are not having perfect, joyful holidays. So if you're not feeling like your holiday is perfect, you are definitely not alone, and you are surely in the majority. There's so much hype, so much expectation, and so much drama that it's really, really easy to be dragged down, and that's a shame because there are a lot of really nice things about the holidays that we don't want to forget. 24% of people said that they were affected a lot by the holiday blues. So hopefully some of the suggestions I make today will help you keep that from being you. The holiday blues are not a formal DSM-5 psychiatric diagnosis, but they are very similar to depression. One of the most striking things is that they really last from mid-November to mid-January, and then they resolve. So if you're feeling bad just over the holidays, you either have seasonal affective disorder, which is related to the days getting really short and having an absence of sunshine, or you have the holiday blues, and we want to fix that. Some symptoms of the holiday blues, which can be quite debilitating, include exhaustion and fatigue. How many people over the holidays say, "How are you doing?" "Oh my God, I'm so tired and overwhelmed." That's not the point. That's not how we're supposed to feel. Fatigue, sleep problems. People will stay up worrying. Do I have all the gifts wrapped? What should I get for my brother? What should I make for Christmas dinner? How much money am I spending? Loss of interest or pleasure in the activities that you should be finding joy in. When you think about doing holiday things, do you just feel overwhelmed and exhausted, or do you feel happy? If you feel overwhelmed and exhausted, the holiday blues are visiting your life. You may have trouble making decisions. I don't know what to get. Nothing I get is good enough. I don't know which things I should go to. I don't feel like going to anything. Difficulty concentrating, loneliness and social withdrawal, and then feeling irritable or grouchy. I think it's interesting what a social meme grumpy curmudgeons are around the holidays. And if you think about most of our favorite movies and TV shows and books, there's always a grumpy curmudgeon in them. The top classics are Scrooge before his visits from the ghosts, the Grinch, who needs his heart to grow many sizes larger. And then let's not forget Mr. Potter from It's a Wonderful Life, who is one of the evilest of villains in a movie that's otherwise quite nice. It's a shame that the holidays, which are supposed to be so joyous, can lead to so much misery. Let's change that. So, how can you get through the next 5 weeks without singing the holiday blues? I've got lots of ideas. Let's first talk about stressful situations that lead you to feel overwhelmed, pressured, and exhausted. A really common one is overscheduling. There's so much going on, including the concern about tonight. How many people could actually come out to a talk about avoiding the holiday blues because they were already overscheduled? I have like 3 different things I could do tomorrow and 2 things I could have done tonight, and obviously I chose this. It's nice to have lots of options, but when you work all day, it can be exhausting to feel like, oh, I'm going to do something Tuesday, I'm going to do something Wednesday, what about Thursday? Oh, this weekend I'm going to Denver. And then where's that downtime? Where's sleep? Where's me time? Where's self-care? So remember, first of all, that all the ordinary tasks of life don't stop because it's the holidays. We have to make time for sleep, bathing, laundry, washing dishes, going to the grocery store, paying your bills, balancing your checkbook. Don't put all that stuff aside because otherwise you have a real letdown after the holidays when you're already tired and you're really overwhelmed. So build time into your schedule for the things that you have to do because in some ways December is just another month. And everybody says it, but avoid overcommitting. Most people, particularly here, have to work during the holidays. Even students often will. I know my son comes home from CSU. He actually works 2 jobs over the holidays. That gives him his ski pass, of course, but that also gives him extra money for his own food and maintenance during the next semester. So while we're having a good time, he's also working lots and lots of hours. And that's true for almost everybody in our community because we are a resort community. So remember, you need to be cautious about promising too much of your limited time and energy. It's impossible to party all night, work all day, and still be a happy person, so don't do it. When you think about being social, be social in whatever way works for you. No one else gets to define that for you. You aren't obligated to attend every function you're invited to, and sometimes it's impossible for you to do that. Also, you can go to more than one in a night, and you don't have to stay from start to finish. So if you're tired, stop in, say hi, be there for half an hour, go home, get some rest, do it again the next day. Enjoy your holiday activities, parties, and events, but don't overdo it. I had a lot to do this weekend, but it was my first chance to go skiing. So instead of saying, oh, I don't have time, I slept in because I was tired. I went to Beaver Creek, I skied for 2 hours, and then I had to get back to Eagle because Speak Up, Reach Out had a float in our Christmas on Broadway parade. So I got to do a lot on Saturday, but I didn't get to spend a lot of time at any of the one things. It worked. I want you to figure out what works for you. Make time for relaxation and solitude to help you stay calm and balanced. We all need downtime, even if you love socializing and you love your family and you love your friends. We all need a little bit of quiet time to process, to think things through, to plan, or just to rest and empty our minds. So please make time for that. For many of us here, again, that's snow sports and skiing. Don't avoid the mountain just because there's so many holiday things to do. If that's your happy place, and it's certainly mine, make the time to get there as a relaxation exercise, more so than even, pushing your limits on those double black diamonds. Be attentive to your own self-care. Eat right, get rest, get massages, do yoga, hang out with the people who make you happy, in addition to the people who you have to spend time with. Make time for the things that you like and that matter to you, because it's really easy to keep making those things a low priority and to not actually do them. I am a big fan of sleep. I love sleeping. I like naps. I hate the fact that our society thinks that the greatest heroes are the people who sleep the least. So I'll say it now, I'll say it again. Get enough sleep. If you have any problem with mood regulation or attention, sleep is your biggest friend, and you need to make time for sleep, and you need to not short yourself on sleep. A lot of us have more of a 25-hour clock than a 24-hour clock. It could be really easy to stay up an hour later every night, and then you end up spending day after day completely exhausted. So if you know that can happen, set limits. My iPhone has a new feature that I really like. It's called bedtime. And it tells me when I need to start getting ready for bed, which is a good reminder because I'm a night owl. And I'm just sometimes getting going at 11:30 at night. I'm on Facebook, I'm writing, I'm catching up on my billing, and my phone will say, get ready for bed. And I'm like, thank you, Siri. If I say her name, she'll start talking to me. Be active. Don't be a couch potato, binge watching holiday TV while drinking eggnog and eating massive quantities of junk food. Fun, but we don't like what happens the next day or the next month. Keep your workout and yoga practice on your schedule no matter what. Maybe you'll do it a few fewer times a week, but don't stop working out. Don't let yourself get deconditioned. We live in an outdoor paradise. Put on those skis, snowboards, snowshoes, and ice skates and get moving. Don't forget the simple joys of things like sledding and snowball fights. And don't you want to go out and build a snowman? The next thing I want to talk about is gift giving. Gift giving is supposed to be a joyful thing, but for a lot of us, it's stressful. As a matter of fact, this year, I'm still trying to figure out how to tell my family that I don't want to do any gifts at all. I want to do experiences. I want to give my son, who doesn't live here, a day of skiing. I want to give Bradley a free month of his car insurance. And I want to take my sister out to dinner, maybe to Beano's. But I don't want any stuff. I'm in the part of my life where I'm getting rid of stuff, not accumulating stuff. I am a fan of food gifts, so if anybody wants to send me a gift, exotic food is always welcome. But other than that, I don't need any things. We don't need more stuff in the world. So really think carefully about when you're buying gifts. If the person can really use what you're buying, if you're just going to be contributing to landfill, or if there's something perishable, food or an experience that contributes to sustainability and also brings people more joy than yet another tchotchke or thing or pair of socks they don't like. What kind of gifts and experiences do you want from your holiday gifts? Do you prefer to give or to receive, or to give and receive? I really like giving gifts a lot more than I like receiving them, unless they're awesome, like diamond earrings, which I wouldn't say no to. But I don't need another sweater. I don't need another pair of tights. I don't need another coffee cup. Those are all cute things, but I've been getting them for years, and now I have too many. So the thrifty store gets a lot of nice stuff, but I don't need more, and you probably don't either. Things like socks and underwear actually get a bad rap, because we all need them. So they're a good thing to get because they're actually something that people can use. So really think about what somebody would welcome. Get something that's a little nicer than what someone might buy on their own. Or like for my college sons, they don't go out and buy underwear. I may be their mom and they're in their 20s, but I can go buy them cute boxers. And, yes, they're from mom, but then they don't have to go to Target and buy them themselves. You also need to be realistic about your budget when it comes to gifting and also to partying and activities. So many people say, oh, this is so much nicer, I'll just spend this extra little bit, and then suddenly January comes and you have bills to pay that you didn't plan for. And talk about dragging out the holiday blues. So set a budget, set a gift budget, stick to it. If budgeting is an issue and you really do want to do some gift giving, remember, you can do Secret Santas. You can choose one gift from each person. Some people will get a hat and they'll pick one person's name out of the hat. We used to do a Secret Santa in college where we got a gift for only one person in our suite. Decide if you want to do gift cards versus actually things. If you celebrate Hanukkah, do you need 8 gifts for your kids? Is only one big gift good? I would give my children candy. So when we do Hanukkah, we'll do one big gift of something that the children really wanted, and then we would do candy bars, and then we would do socks, underwear, T-shirts, etc., things that they really needed, but at least they had something each night that we lit the candles. Sometimes we decide we're only going to give gifts to kids, because kids do need stuff, and most kids want stuff in a way that most adults don't anymore. And again, no gifts, because most of us buy what we need when we need it anyway. Or get only personal and really wanted gifts, and if there isn't that type of gift, don't get anything. Avoid giving alcohol or drugs as gifts. We really have a big problem with alcohol and drug abuse. You don't need to contribute to it. There's many, many nice things that you can give that don't involve a substance with the potential for abuse. You can also give time or experiences. You can say, here's a lunch date, or let's go ice skating, or let's go play, or let me help you clean, or let me babysit for you. And one other thing, I personally hate gift wrapping. I find that to be incredibly stressful. I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, so if I'm going to do it, I want to do it right. So what I've been doing is I've been accumulating pillowcases. And what I do is I put the gifts in a pillowcase, and I use a piece of yarn, and I tie a bow, and then I just pin a gift tag to it. Ta-da! No trash. It's very sustainable. And over time, we use the same bags over and over and over again, and they become part of our holiday tradition. And I don't understand why nobody has started creating custom gift bags that are reasonably priced, because if you need a business idea, I can't do it, but somebody else might. I would much rather be using holiday-themed things than, blue and purple pillowcases. So let's talk about decorating. Remember that every holiday decoration you put up has to come down. So decorate to your heart's content, but only as much as you want to take down at the end of the holidays. When we came out here in March of 2012 to go house hunting, I lived in Texas before here, we were shocked to see people still had Christmas lights up. And we thought, man, those people in Eagle County, they are lazy. They don't want to take their Christmas lights down. So our first Christmas, we decorated, we put lights up along the house, we put them along the driveway, we built this Christmas tree in the yard. It was beautiful, and then it all froze in place. And suddenly we were the people who still had Christmas lights up in March. So be careful what you judge. Be careful what you put up, because you may be staring at it for a long, long time. Same thing with Christmas trees. In San Antonio, we actually had, the city would send a chipper truck around. And you put your tree out on a particular morning, and they would come and create mulch. And it was really nice, but you had to have your tree out that day. And it started to get really annoying, because even though I have 3 children, nobody wanted to take the tree down. So I would end up being the one the night before taking the tree down and dragging my children out to drag the tree to the curb. And one year I said, you know what, between picking out the tree when it was cold, because it still gets cold there, decorating the tree, leaving water in the tree, making sure the tree was straight, and also managing the bald spot, because there's always one, I said, I want a fake tree. Oh, no, Mom, we can't have a fake tree. I want a really, really tacky, kitschy fake tree. So we went to Home Depot and we bought a tree, and it had berries and pine cones and snow on it, and it was pre-lit, and it meant that A, I could put a lot fewer ornaments on, and B, we didn't have to worry about when the chipping truck was coming. So ever since then, I've been a fan of fake trees. Maybe I've converted you too. Don't feel competitive to have the best decorations. If you have 3 kids and 2 full-time jobs, there's no way your decorating can compete with the retired couple next door with all the time in the world. But you know what? Your garden doesn't compete with theirs either. So do what feels right to you. Don't overcommit either expense-wise, time-wise, or effort-wise. What decorations and traditions are meaningful to you? Make sure you put the effort into doing those things. I have 3 little glittery Christmas boxes that I like to put on my front lawn, and 2 reindeer. And if that's all that gets out, plus a wreath on the door, I'm perfectly happy. When my kids were younger, I used to put stuff on the stairway railings. We did so much more. I don't have time. I don't like taking it down. If you have too much to do, decorating can be your lowest priority. Don't feel bad about that. Christmas cards. I used to love Christmas cards. I used to write this short story essay about our year with everybody's accomplishments, travel, things that we'd done, places we'd gone. And now with Facebook, that doesn't make sense anymore. So I keep up with most people throughout the year, where I used to only keep up with them during the holidays. So I have one friend who does a newsletter, and in their newsletter every year they list all the books they've read, the movies they recommend. It's really lovely. I can't imagine where they find the time, but I enjoy it. Other than that, with Christmas cards are nice, but what do you do with them? I have a little wreath. You could stick the cards to it. How long do you keep a Christmas card that somebody sent to you? And I always feel guilty when someone sends me a picture, throwing the picture away. It feels bad. So I have an entire box of my friends' lives through the past 20 years, because I can't bring myself to throw their holiday pictures away. And some of them are in these beautiful frames. I pull it out of the frame, throw the frame thing away, put it in the box. Someday, in 100 years, people will wonder who these people are. Don't feel obligated to send a card just because you've received one. You could thank the person, but you don't need to get into, oh my God, I didn't get a card for them. They sent me a card. Let me run out and get one. Send the cards you want to send. Don't send cards if you don't want to. Enjoy the ones you get and don't worry about it. Gatherings, celebrations, parties. I wanted to take a moment to talk about wishing people happy holidays. I am not Christian. When people wish me Merry Christmas, I don't make a big deal about it. I don't militantly say, how dare you wish me Merry Christmas. I think of Christmas as a holiday where hopefully I have a merry day too. I usually prefer to say happy holidays because from November 1st through January 15th, there are 29 holidays from 7 different major religions in the world. So happy holidays does cover everybody. If someone wishes you a happy, merry, joyous, whatever, and it's not your holiday, either say thank you or very calmly and politely inform them that it's not your holiday, but you appreciate the holiday spirit, and their good wishes, and you wish the same for them, and let it go. We don't need arguments. We're supposed to be joyful, right? You can choose this as an opportunity to educate, inform, and direct, or it's perfectly okay to let it go. If the spirit of your wish is to share joy, you shouldn't mind the redirection. If you really mind being redirected, maybe you need to do a little soul searching and values clarification about why that bothers you so much. So how do we handle competing obligations? You can't do everything, so you might as well do what you want. You can also do the things you absolutely feel like you must, even if they don't particularly make you happy, but you know they're going to make other people happy, or they know you're going to help you not feel guilty. But if in doubt, do the things, if you can't please everybody, you might as well please yourself. You don't need to attend everything, and if you really dread or absolutely don't want to go to something, express your regret without a big lie. Because if you give a big lie, somehow it's going to come back and bite you. Or go for a short time. Most of us have family, people who are married have 2 sets of in-laws. You have 4 sets of grandparents with step-family realities. People could have like 8 different families who want to spend time with them on the holidays. If you do, count your blessings because people want to be around you, but you still have to prioritize. You might split your time between different parts of the family. Sometimes people will split like Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. There's a lot of different ways to do it. Just recognize there's no perfect recipe. Think about what the best ways are to incorporate your friends versus your family versus coworkers and parties related to things that are not family or direct friends. What about arguments, feuds, grudges, difficult topics, and difficult people? Those are some of the things that I think make the holiday blues the worst for so many of us. What am I going to do about people who I don't want to spend time with, people who are nasty, people who are difficult, people who are not fun? One thing is plan ahead. There's not too many surprises when the same people are around each other, so what's the best way to head things off at the pass? You might talk to people privately ahead of time. Seat difficult people who argue far apart from one another whenever you have that option. You might invite some for Christmas Eve and some for Christmas Day. You might invite some for dinner and some for dessert. There's different options. Can you talk to both parties involved in a conflict and ask them to please let it go for the holiday? Can you set ground rules? Can you avoid topics that shouldn't be discussed in polite company? As an aside, I'd like to say that one of the reasons we can't talk about religion or politics in polite company anymore is because we stopped talking about them in polite company and we forgot how. So we're not going to solve this on Christmas. But we should start thinking about how we can talk to each other about difficult topics at more appropriate times so that we can be cordial and civil and manage things as a community instead of just sitting in our corners with our hackles raised, hissing at each other. Can you assign a particularly easygoing family member to watch over the difficult one and soothe and calm them? If they're particularly difficult, people might volunteer to take turns. Can you give a difficult person an assignment? Put them in the kitchen. Have them serving drinks. That way they're not going to be walking around attacking people or being difficult. If people bring up politics, this comes up a lot. I don't care what side you're on. But if you bring up politics at parties or events that are supposed to be joyful and other people don't want to talk about it, drop it. You're not going to convince anybody of anything at a Christmas party or Christmas dinner. So let it go. You're not going to solve world peace, and you're not going to convince anybody who to vote for or who to impeach, or whether we need universal health care. There are other things that we can talk about, like the weather, like skiing, like vacations, like what you watched on television. So stick to cordial, civil, pleasant topics, because that's the recipe for a cordial, civil, pleasant activity. And the rules of civility were developed so that people who don't agree on much can still be in the same room without throwing punches or anything else. So remember what they are, practice them, teach them to your children, and remind your spouses. Use process comments. A process comment is talking about not the content, but how you're talking about it or what you're talking about. So, for example, say, let's not talk about this right now. Bringing this up right now will only upset Grandma. Let's have a nice dinner, a nice holiday. We can address this later. Saying we can all agree to disagree. Say, let's take 5 and then play charades, Cards Against Humanity, poker, do a jigsaw puzzle. Do something to distract and de-escalate. You can also say, I know this is a difficult issue, but we can't solve this right now. Discussing this now is hard on everyone, so we're not going to talk about it. We're not going to resolve it. Let's relax, have a nice time, and deal with it later in private. Provide comfort. Here's a hug. Here's a cup of tea. Have a cookie. Allow timeout or distraction. If somebody is getting upset or militant, tell them to take a walk. They could even go watch a movie or go lie down for a few minutes. If someone insists on escalation, do not encourage it or support it. You can always set limits by walking out of the room, turning away, or changing the subject. It's not rude to escalate, to de-escalate when someone is being difficult. It can also be helpful to imagine how you would handle this situation if you knew that this was your last holiday together. Hopefully it won't be, but you never know. Would this be the last holiday memory you'd want to be leaving people with? It can be a really good motivation for good behavior. If you work or live near someone who has no local family, the greatest gift you could give them to be to invite them to share in your own festivities. If you're having a gathering, be sure to reach out to people without family in town or without friends, or where everyone close to them might be working that day. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone or an act of service in community is an invitation. If they decline to attend, if they don't want to, try to drop some treats off or some leftovers from your holiday table. Be flexible when you invite people over about when they can come and leave, because a lot of people here have work schedules and have competing obligations. So if somebody has to work on Christmas or New Year's, be flexible so that they can be included in your holiday gatherings. Food issues. Sometimes you'll have more than one turkey because people have different preferences about what kind of turkey they like. Have a variety available because vegans don't always tell you they're vegans, and gluten-free people don't always tell you that they're gluten-free. If somebody has special dietary needs, it's not inappropriate to ask them to bring something that they can eat to make sure that they're not sitting there drinking water at your table. Bring your own drinks and snacks if you're not sure that the people whose home you're visiting are going to have something that you'll like. If you're on a special diet or trying to lose weight, find some small indulgences, but don't deviate from your diet or from what you're supposed to be doing. You'll be sorry. Alcohol and substances. Be careful about alcohol consumption. Hangovers or a DUI will do nothing for your holiday cheer. Newsflash, it's completely achievable to have a happy celebration without alcohol or drugs. So think about it. If you are practicing sobriety, bring a fun and interesting beverage of your own or get virgin drinks. I love virgin daiquiris. They're totally delicious. Who needs the rum and the extra calories? Practice calm refusal skills. If you don't want to drink a lot, practice ahead of time. How are you going to tell people that you don't want that drink? Don't lie about why you're not drinking. But if you're newly sober and you don't want to explain it to everybody, you can say it's a health issue because it is a health issue. If you're worried about people drinking and driving, take people's keys ahead of time when they first arrive. Put them all in a bucket. And by the way, they can put their cell phones in the bucket too. And that way you could keep devices out of your party. Let people know you view it as one of your responsibilities as a host or hostess to not allow them to leave while impaired. They'll thank you. Have your guest room ready, air mattresses, sleeping bags, in case people are not able to drive and they can't leave. Buy some extra toothbrushes. we talked about stuff. You could give people a toothbrush in case they're staying at your house, and then they could at least brush their teeth and have a good night. If you're newly sober, practice your elevator speech. How will you explain to people why you're not drinking if they ask? Keep going to your AA meetings. If you're on a program or you go to meetings, they're particularly important around the holidays. They also allow you to help yourself while helping others. If you're having a gathering or party, you can announce ahead of time that it will be alcohol and drug-free, and people can decide if they want to come or not, but they don't get to decide if they're going to follow your rules. I want to take a moment to talk about social media. A lot of people say that social media is a curse and it's ruining our lives. I happen to love social media. I find it to be a fabulous way to stay connected with people from the many different places I've lived and the many different roles I've had in my life. It's one of the main ways I keep in touch with my family who lives all over the country, and I don't have any family who lives here, so I get to know what they're doing and they get to know what I'm doing. So I think posting can be a lot of fun. I think when you're having a party or an event, you should talk to people about how they're going to use their phones and devices. My attitude is if you want to take pictures or you want to post something, do that as one of the first things that you do. Like when I go to a concert, I take some pictures, I put my phone away. If there's something I want to post, I post it, I put my phone away. You want to be in the moment, living in the real world. Sharing that is fun. Spending your whole time texting or on social media when there's other people around you is not fun. Use social media in a positive and supportive way. Don't bully, don't denigrate people, don't be mean. Facebook and Instagram are about sharing the good stuff, though. So what you see is not a complete and accurate representation of other people's whole lives. That is expected. Don't expect anything from Facebook or Instagram that you would not do on your front porch. Most of that are non-embarrassing, fun, or celebratory things. So don't think everybody else's life is perfect because of what you see on Facebook. Instead, revel in their joy, share your joy, and be happy and grateful for the good things in your life and the lives of others. Don't engage in negative social comparisons that lead you to conclude everyone else's life is a bed of poinsettias, while yours is just a bed of thorns. What's unique about the holidays in Eagle County? We live in a pretty unique environment. We live in a place that I consider to be a mountain paradise, but we are a resort community. People will sometimes come down on guests like, oh, the guests, the tourists. Well, my attitude about guests and tourists is that they're our lifeblood in our economy. Be nice to them. Share in their joy. Everybody's not rude. Everybody's not unpleasant. We can give people wonderful experiences when we work with our tourists, and be grateful that they're here and be grateful that you can be a part of their celebrations. The bad stuff, let it roll over you like water off a duck. We also have a whole host of exciting events and activities that are directed at tourists, but we should also enjoy. So go to the Nutcracker, go to the ice skating competitions. I hope you went to the Birds of Prey this weekend. We get to enjoy all of these fun things that most people in small communities don't get to do. So while you're balancing your other holiday activities, remember that we have some really, really cool things that we can attend that can bring a lot of joy to all of our lives, not just the people visiting here. If you're alone for the holidays, you might count your blessings. Some of us have family we would rather not be around. I hope that's not you. If you're alone, you can take Christmas Day as a day to relax and recoup or ski. No obligations. No one's going to bother you. There's no work you have to do. Sleep in, read a novel, write a novel, have friends over, do a Friendsgiving for your Christmas celebration. Volunteer or help others. Go someplace where there are other solo people. So if you don't want to be alone, you don't have to be. If you're working on the holiday, remember lots of locals are in the same boat. It can be festive. My first husband was a physician, and he actually liked working on Christmas. There was very little work to do. Everybody was so grateful to see him, and people would give him presents. So he thought that that was really fun, and I've always remembered that and agreed that that was a really good way to look at it. Dress in holiday garb, be silly, eat festive food, wish everyone happy whatever holiday they have, and bring small gifts for people working on the holiday. They'll appreciate it. There's a couple of things I want to touch on that particularly contribute to the holiday blues. One is loss. If you've lost a loved one this year, whether to death or suicide, the first holidays without that person can be especially jarring. You can feel guilty that you're having a good time when your loved one is no longer with you. Another type of loss comes with big life changes. For example, all of my children don't live at home anymore. It's hard to get enthusiastic about decorating for Christmas when nobody's home but me. If you've retired, if you've moved, if you've had a dramatic change in income, if your health isn't what it used to be, if you've been victimized by crime, if you're a veteran returning from combat, adjusting to civilian life, if you've moved to a new place, if your adult children have gotten married and are having their own children so they can't spend the holidays with you. These are all things that can make your holiday a time of loss instead of joy. If the holidays are especially triggering for you, it's okay to skip the holidays this year. You can travel. My sister likes to go on cruises for Thanksgiving. I wish she would come here, but she comes for Christmas, and she doesn't want to spend both Christmas and Thanksgiving here. So they go somewhere, and they have a big Thanksgiving on a cruise ship. Sometimes just breathe, just get through the day. Be okay with excusing yourself and taking a few moments if you need to. Don't apologize for crying or grief. Celebrate life, yours and the lost loved ones. Do something that they found meaningful. Start a new tradition that honors them. Remember that loss is a reminder that life is finite and we need to create and cherish good moments. If your religion is a source of comfort, attend services. Find a support group if you need it and be sure to go during the holidays. We have some really great support groups here in the Valley, including a grief support group. And I can't encourage you enough, if that's affecting you this holiday season, to take advantage of the resources that our community has. Also, it's okay to talk about your lost loved one. Don't let the loss be the elephant in the room no one talks about. It's part of your story, and you can talk about it. You are entitled to joy and to having nice holidays. That does not take away from anyone's life that's been lost. It doesn't take away from grief, and it's not disrespectful. I always like to put a plug if you need support or you're feeling suicidal or dangerous, that the National Suicide Prevention Hotline is 1-800-273-8255. There's people there 24 hours a day to help you if you're having a rough moment. If you or a loved one is challenged by mental illness, the holidays can be especially difficult. If you take medication, stay on your meds. Do not skip doses. Keep your therapy appointments. Be proactive and have supports in place when you need them. Sleep, rest, and avoid excessive stress. It's extremely important. You probably need to push yourself a little bit to be with people and engage in activities. Pushing yourself will give you holiday joy without overcommitting. If there's a significant trigger, it's fine not to do something. You know, if your father always loved carving the turkey and you've lost your father this year, do a roast or a ham instead. There's different ways that we can do things that can change the holidays a little bit while we're still celebrating. Do not assume everyone else's life is fancy-free and perfect. It's not. Most of us just don't talk about it. If you're struggling and you do talk, you may find out that a lot of other people are sharing some of your grief or misery, and perhaps you can help lift each other up. If you're feeling sorry for yourself, reach out and help others. That always helps people feel better. Remember, your holidays will be happy if you create a holiday experience that's meaningful for you. So hopefully some of the things that I've talked about today will help you understand what's meaningful, fun, and relaxing to give you the holidays that you want and to avoid the holiday blues. Think about the experiences you want. Put them at the top of your list. Cross off the things that you dread and you don't want to do. Remember the reason for the season. It's not about glamour, extravagance, and exhaustion. Do what makes you feel relaxed, connected, and joyful, and bring meaning to your life. Because that's the secret to enjoying the holidays with grace and comfort and avoiding the holiday blues. Thank you.